All right, team, what's up? Good to see everybody. Welcome to the PT on Ice Daily Show. I'm thrilled to be here with you. I'm Dr. Jeff Moore, currently serving as the CEO of ICE, and glad to be here on a Leadership Thursday, which, as always, is also a Gut Check Thursday. I'm sure you already saw this posted last night, but Gut Check is up for this week. We've got a nice little spicy one, 10-1 here. So we're gonna run strict handstand push-ups. You figure, I look at the workout and I think, hey, it's gonna be doable, and then I realize these are strict handstand push-ups, not kipping. So we've got strict handstand push-ups, going back and forth with alternating dumbbell snatches, 70-50 prescribed, and going 10-1, right? So we've got 10 strict handstand push-ups, 10 alternating dumbbell snatches, then 9 of each, carrying that all the way down to 1. Nice heavy dumbbell there on the 70-50. So give that a ride here over the next few days if you've got some time off. As always, tag Ice Physio, hashtag Ice Trained. We love seeing those videos come across. So hopefully you all get a chance to get that in. As far as courses coming up, there are so many courses coming up now. I don't know where to start, but go ahead and check out the calendar. We do have pregnancy and postpartum starting right at the beginning of the year, January 3rd. So if you want to see that online course, you're going to want to grab that soon. I think MMOA starts a week after that. I know Rehab of the Injured Runners, January 11th. So tons of online courses kicking off the year, and then just innumerable live options, and ton of those open to the public. We did just post the schedule and description for Ice Sampler. If you didn't see it, a whole nother conversation here, but I cannot get over my stoke for what we're doing this year in Tennessee. That'll be April 30th, May 1st, and it's going to be all prevention focused, which actually kind of ties into some of this episode today. We announced that CrossFit Health is going to be a part of that. We'll chat so much more about that over the next few months, but if you really want to see where we think we're going and where we're trying to lead this profession, get yourself to Ice Sampler, hang out with the crew, and watch some of the methodology behind what we hope to be the future as we step into this next phase of rehabilitation. So and prehabilitation. So check that out. All right, team. Every year at the end of the year, I love taking a minute to try to kind of get our sights set on the following season. You know, what are the opportunities? What are the action items? And just kind of get our heads straight and focused. And this year, I want to talk about a concept that I want to call walling the garden. And it really comes from, we were down in Charlotte. We had our All Onward meeting. So we had all the Onward clinicians were down in Charlotte here recently. And Zach Morgan had the mic, and he was musing about a handful of things. But during that, he said, as much as anything, I really see myself as a resource dealer. And it really hit me between the eyes because, you know, most of you know Zach Morgan from leading the spine courses here at ICE, but Zach and Alexis also own Onward Tennessee. So they've got a really busy out-of-network cash-based practice, very fitness forward. They just hired 2 new employees. They crushed it over at CrossFit Hendersonville, just really practicing at the top of his game. And here's someone practicing at the absolute top of his game saying, when I reflect on what I really do that brings value, I realize a big part of it is I'm a resource dealer. And it really got me thinking, not just at the event, but thinking in the weeks following the event of like, that's it. Like if you look at what's changing, if you look at what our call is now, the next step forward, it is to be a resource dealer because we are in an unbelievably unique position to take care of our people, to take care of our tribe. In our given communities, our ability now to keep them away from bad advice, from bad care, from unnecessary treatment is absolutely unprecedented. And I'm saying that because historically, we've sort of had to accept the uphill battle against bad advice. I mean, you all know the struggle is real, right? The person goes and gets the image. Findings don't really correlate to clinical exam. They're probably not overly relevant, but they get this message from someone they respect or look up to that the imaging matters, and now we're battling that. The image of medicine being the primary option has been a battle forever, right? Why the dose pack so early? Why the injection so early? Before we've tried loading the structures, cleaning up the person's lifestyle. We have been battling bad messaging our entire careers, and it's exhausting. I'm here to say, and I think largely because Zach realizes it in real time in his practice, that day can be over. If we're intentional about it, the resources are now available that we can end that day. My call to action for 2022 is that we shift our energy from trying so hard to change beliefs to finding people who already share ours. Now, don't mishear me. I can already feel the pushback. I am not saying we give up trying to push back against bad narratives. I'm so thankful for the huge engagement on my last Instagram and Facebook post about the MRI prolonging disability and early back pain. That got massive traction. And so I'm glad we're trumpeting that out. But if we're being honest, we've been trumpeting that out for a long, long time. And it's just very hard to get the kind of progress that can actually change our patients' lives on Monday. The messaging that they're hearing. We should keep doing that. But we should shift a fair amount of our energy to finding people who are already aligned with our beliefs so that we can really create an actual oasis of health and wellness for our people and our communities and wall out the nonsense. It's time to wall the garden. And here's what I'm saying, the 3 steps you should consider going into 2022 that are going to make this possible. Step number 1 is aligning with a like-minded physician. It is my personal belief that PT version 2.0 to really come into its fullest expression needs MD 2.0 in its ecosystem. And the coolest thing about that is that's here. Right, so this is part of the reason why you're hearing so much enthusiasm from the ICE tribe about CrossFit precision care. Because you've now got a group of physicians, a massive group of physicians, who believe that lifestyle behavior and fitness should be the tip of the spear, right? That other things should support those primary interventions. We should lead with that. We should lead with breathing and mindfulness and sleep hygiene and cleaning up our inflammatory diets. That should be the focus, and the other things should supplement that. Not only do you now have a group of physicians that lives that way and believes that, this system is already embedded in pretty much every community across the country. Team, that is the kind of thing that is going to make this available for all of the people who are on our schedules and our communities and our clinics, that we can now connect them with these physicians, and that can be the shared messaging. Same thing with Wild Health, right? And a lot of overlap between those two groups, but same thing with Wild Health. Same philosophies. Go follow Wild Health's Instagram page and tell me you're not loving the fact that you've got physicians putting out content every day about cleaning up lifestyle behaviors, because that's the most important thing. That's what's going to increase longevity. That's what's going to keep you out of chronic pain. Not more meds, not more pictures, lifestyle changes. And having physicians who are believing that and reinforcing that message and setting that tone is a game changer. It's not the uphill battle anymore. Now we're riding together. Team, if for whatever reason those two groups don't do it for you, make sure that you post whatever your fitness tribe is in your town, whether it's your CrossFit box or another facility. Post, I'm sure you have a Facebook page, just post in there. Any MDs or DOs in here? You're going to see a couple of hands go up. And now you can connect with these folks and say, hey, clearly you prioritize this in your lifestyle. I'm sure you prioritize it in your patient's lifestyle. One thing we know is if you are about it, I guarantee you your practice is about it. And now all of a sudden you've got an ally with you who you can connect your patients with to keep them away from messaging that leads with scalpels and prescriptions. That's the key step. We got to wall the garden, and we've got to have a physician with us in that garden. Here's the coolest thing. None of these people need to be near you. And that's why I think this year is the year we make this move. With the explosion of telehealth, all you need to have is a contact of a physician who feels this way, who's willing to consult with your patients via telehealth. So whether you engage with CrossFit Precision Care, whether you engage with Wild Health, whether you engage with somebody in your fitness community, whether you leverage telehealth, you can get like-minded physicians now with you, working side by side so that your messaging to your patients is not a constant uphill battle. That is step number 1. Step number 2, and this has really been genesis from an interesting couple of years for me, in that I have done a lot more consulting with practices in the past couple of years than I probably did in the 5 years before that. And one thing that I've been surprised by is how not diverse our fitness facility relationships are. And so I'd ask you to reflect on this a little bit. So oftentimes what I find is when I'm working with a clinic and just talking about kind of how they're reaching their community, we tend to have really good contacts with one gym. And that makes sense for a lot of reasons. It's probably the one that you like to go to. Somewhere along the way that relationship struck up, and so it only deepened over time. That's fine, but it's also very limiting. Because the reality is, if you're going to know which of your patients belong in which fitness tribe, you've got to have good experience and relationships with all of the different fitness facilities in your community. And that's what I'm not seeing. I'm seeing us have really good relationships with a fitness community, but all of your people are not going to jive well with that one fitness community. So in 2022, I really want to challenge you to, if you're big into CrossFit, great, right? And some of your patients are going to fit well in that tribe. But I'm going to encourage you to get some sessions in at your local Orange Theories, at your Fit Body boot camps, in your yoga classes, at your cycle bar. Get out there and meet these folks so that when you do convince somebody, when the question, how fit will you let me get you, actually hits, and that patient's ears are open, now you can really read that person and say, what's important to you in a fitness community? What are you looking for? Do you like when there's a lot of competition? Do you like the opposite of that, where it's kind of everybody's own journey? Do you like when the coach is really hands-on, or where you have a bit more space to learn and grow yourself? Who are you, and what makes you feel comfortable? Now, if you've done the work on getting into all these different groups, now you can hear that from your patient and say, you know what? You're going to do great with Trey over at Cycle Bar. Just what you're saying, I think you're going to love that. You're going to love Melissa over at this yoga studio. You're going to love John over at this spa. Now that I've had a chance to get to know what you want in a community, I know exactly where you should be because I've went there. I think that step in 2022 of us getting a bit out of our comfort zones and getting in and exploring all these different fitness, because team, what we want for our patients is lifelong fitness. But it's not all going to happen the way it happens for you personally. So our biggest charge is doing our homework in all these other groups so we can play matchmaker at a high level of efficiency. Now, one pushback I got last year as I was talking to a lot of groups about this is folks would say, Jeff, I get that, but I don't want to offend the owner. We have a great relationship with that one gym, right? Or I don't want to offend the coach. I totally understand that. But I will say, if that coach is really about fitness for their community, they are not going to take any offense when you go to them and say, hey, just to give you a heads up, I'm going to be jumping into a bunch of sessions this year to a bunch of different facilities. Don't get me wrong, this is my fitness home. You all are my tribe. That being said, I really want to make sure that for the patients that I'm serving, I can really match them up, because this place is not appropriate for everybody. It's not the perfect fitness destination for everybody. Some people's goals are very different. I want to make sure I can get them into a community that they really stick in, that really elevates the quality of their life, where they don't quit. And the only way I can do that is if I explore these communities. Just so you know, I'm going to dance around a bit, but that really is the objective. Team, no fitness owner worth their salt is going to be upset when they hear that you're going to dance around a little bit, because you want to make sure everybody you come in contact with finds a fitness home that's right for them. If anybody's mission driven, they're not going to have an issue with that. So step number 2 in 2022 is really explore all of these different fitness communities so you can play matchmaker and have a really high success rate in doing so. Step number 1, like-minded physician. Step number 2, diverse fitness community exploration. Step number 3, and this is the one that's going to get some pushback, but step number 3 is we've got to get our patients on a maintenance plan. If I'm sure of anything, I'm sure of this. We've got to get our patients on a maintenance plan. Now, I am not saying that people need to come in every week or even every month. Maybe it's quarterly. But we've got to get our people regularly seeing us, right? Scheduling out in advance so that they are consistently having touch points with us. The bottom line is, if we are going to do what Zach Morgan said, if we're going to be a resource dealer where we take care of these people and we do our homework on other groups so that we can help them weed through the nonsense and always get high quality concentrated care with a similar fitness forward message, if we're going to do that, if we're going to play point guard, we got to have the ball. If you're going to play point guard, if you're going to run the court, you got to have the ball often. The ball often means touch points. You've got to be, team, it's not that expensive to come in and see you. Certainly compared to anything else in the healthcare system, it's not expensive to come and see you. coming and seeing you a handful of times a year so that you can really check in with that person. What are you doing? What are your new goals? What are your struggles? What are your barriers? Where can I get you more resources? If you're going to do that, these folks have got to be coming to see you regularly. They've got to be on a maintenance program. I know I told this story one other time on a podcast, but I don't regret telling it twice. This really hit me this year when Jordan Berry, so Jordan owns Onward Charlotte. Jordan had a patient who was on his Restore and Perform, our maintenance program at Onward, and the patient was actually a nurse, and over the weekend she developed some neck and arm pain. And she was actually dialoguing with her spouse about, hey, maybe I should go get an MRI. They had some back and forth, and ultimately she said these magic words. You know what? I've got an appointment with Jordan already scheduled on Tuesday. Why don't I start there, and then we'll just go from there? Team, what do you think happened? She went in and saw Jordan. Jordan recognized this as probably an emerging redic, was able to do some local treatment, get some of the inflammatory chemical nonsense out of there, do some regional cardio work, flush more of the inflammatory chemicals out, get some endorphins rolling, get that person back on track, give them some home program stuff to ameliorate some of that discomfort. And over the next couple of weeks, as they got some of the garbage out of their diet, improved the sleep quality, the person's neck and arm felt better. There was no image needed. Team, that can happen over and over and over again if we have the ball. If we have these people already coming in and seeing us so that we're checking in. Maybe that would have been something that was out of Jordan's control, and he could have diverted her to a clinician who he's done his homework on, who's going to give a really robust narrative about the fact the person's going to do well, get back into your fitness, find creative ways to do it, clean up your diet, get some sleep back on track. Team, Jordan could have orchestrated that, could have played point guard. But you can't do it if you don't have the ball. That person was not thinking about PT or MRI. They were thinking about MRI or nothing else, but they happened to have a PT appointment. We've got to have these people coming in and seeing us on the regular if we're really going to be able to deal out those resources, help them navigate that nonsense, orchestrate that community, distribute that ball. Give that some thought. We really need to get folks on maintenance programs so that we can wall this garden and help people navigate through it. Those are the 3 steps. It is time to wall the garden because of the advent of telehealth, because so many folks are coming online in the fitness forward space, because of what we're able to do in this new era, the way we're able to orchestrate these people's kind of migration through the system. We can do it, but it's got to be intentional. It's intentional through those 3 steps. Number 1, finding that like-minded fitness forward physician. Number 2, getting a deeper and better understanding and forming personal relationships in all the fitness tribes in your community. And number 3, ensuring you have touch points with your people on the regular so that when these things come up, you can actually use the homework you've done to get them the resources they need. Now, I want to make one final point before I sign off. I know I'm pushing my luck on time. So a lot of people said, as I've kind of pushed this message over the past year, the problem is, Jeff, there's too many cooks in the kitchen if we do it this way. If we get all these like-minded people in the garden, if you will, and wall out the nonsense, there's too many cooks in the kitchen. I do not agree with that. The only reason we feel that way is because historically, the cooks that have been in the kitchen have given widely different advice. And then it is a problem. Right? If somebody goes to one provider and now they go to another provider, get a totally different message, now that does increase fear, it does increase stress. But if the opposite thing happens, it's actually symbiotic. Right? If you go to one person and they tell you something and you go to the next person and they say the same thing, you tend to say, you know what, this has got to be right because multiple people that I have a good relationship are giving me the same advice. It actually becomes collaborative. Team, think about your spouse or think about your family member who you've been trying to treat or get them to do something forever, right? And you've been explaining why, and they're just not having any uptake. Then they go and see your colleague or they go and see another provider who says the same thing. And all of a sudden they're in. And you're like, come on, I've been saying that forever. Team, getting reinforcement of a consistent positive message is massively powerful. There are a lot of cooks in the kitchen, but just like an actual busy kitchen, when that's in harmony, that's poetry. That's a beautiful thing. You want multiple people from different perspectives reinforcing the same message. That's what makes it reliable. So it's only a problem when the messages butt heads. But when the messages are symbiotic, when they're collaborative, it actually deepens the effect. We want cooks in the kitchen, but we want cooks in the kitchen or in the garden who are on the same page. And in 2022, with the steps laid out above, that's how we're going to get it done. Team, welcome to the new year. We're coming into 2022 and we are coming in rolling. I hope you all are as excited as we are. We have so many more resources, so many more like-minded people, so many more ways to reach out and connect our people with those people. It's going to be an era unlike any other. The barriers are getting knocked down. The bridges are already built. Let's travel across them in 2022. Hope to see you all at Sampler, where we are going to unpack a lot more of these strategies in very clear detail. Let me know if you have any questions. Have a wonderful New Year's Eve. Be safe today and tomorrow, and we'll see you on the other side in 2022. Cheers, everybody.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to the PT on Ice Daily Show. If you enjoyed this content, head on over to iTunes and leave us a review. And be sure to check us out on Facebook and Instagram at the Institute of Clinical Excellence. If you're interested in getting plugged into more ICE content on a weekly basis while earning CEUs from home, check out our virtual ICE online mentorship program at ptonice.com. While you're there, sign up for our Hump Day Hustling newsletter for a free email every Wednesday morning with our top 5 research articles and social media posts that we think are worth reading. Head over to ptonice.com and scroll to the bottom of the page to sign up.